What's up, guys, and welcome to the Weekly Blitz Film Spotlight. My name is Jackson McIntire, and on this show, I use my knowledge of 8 years as a senior analyst at PFF, where I was a quarterback coverage and receiver expert and finalized grades, and I try to break the game down from a coverage-first approach. So, unlike a lot of breakdown videos that you see on YouTube, I like to go through the coverage first and explain what the quarterback is looking at and what he ends up seeing, and then essentially how he attacks that coverage. And today we've got the man of the hour, Jayden Daniels. He's coming off a couple of absolutely incredible rookie performances that has him firmly positioned as a top 5 MVP candidate. He's currently leading the NFL in EPA. He has more scoring drives at 23 than incomplete passes through 4 games. In his last 2 games, he has a 90.6% adjusted completion percentage, 574 total yards, 5 total touchdowns. And in his game this past Sunday against the Cardinals, he was 7 for 7 on intermediate throws. That's throws between 10 and 19 air yards. And with that, let's get into our first play here. So the defense is lined up in a 2-high pre-snap look. So these 2 safeties are lining up deep. Now what's going to happen is this weak side safety here is going to rotate down to the hook curl. And then you're going to have this edge player drop to the curl flat. This is a cover 3 robber. So 21 is going to rotate into the middle of the field. 24's got this deep third. And then 2 here is going to leak out to the strong curl flat. And then you've got 7 playing the strong hook curl. Now I'll play this through. Quick strike from Daniels here. So at the top of his drop here, he's got 58 working out to that curl flat, as we talked about. We've got 23 here in the deep third, and then we've got this receiver here on this out cut. So when he's working out underneath a deep third defender and then over the top of a curl flat defender, there's going to be a window here because this deep third defender has to play that from depth. And then 58 here is leaking out, and he can't just go straight to the boundary. 58 is dropping to a spot, and once he gets a few yards of depth, he's going to bring his eyes back to the quarterback. So he is reading the quarterback's eyes rather than reading the route distribution. So what this opens up is this throw right here. So now you've got 58's head coming back to the quarterback. He can't just fly out to the boundary here because if 17 runs a hitch, then that would be wide open. So 58 is instead dropping to this area. And then the defense is giving up this throw if the quarterback can make it. It's not an easy throw, and it has to be on time, which Daniels is here. And he delivers that right on the money. End zone view here. So right as Daniels gets to the top of his drop here, right there, he's driving off that back foot and delivers a great ball. Now, here's a play that Daniels would love to have back. We've got cover 2 here. So this safety is a deep half here. This safety is the deep half here. We've got the pull runner here, or the Tampa 2 defender here, running with the vertical. We've got the hook curl, the flat, flat, hook curl. Now I'll play this through and then we can talk about it. Now, cover 2 versus a 3-by-1 look is risky business. You don't see that a whole lot. And the Tampa 2 defender here, who's going to be, once again, the pull runner or running with the vertical seam, that would be whoever it ends up being in the receiver distribution. So if 82 is out, and then number 2 in the formation here is like on some inside release seam, then that would be what he runs with. But what happens here is this receiver pushes initially like he's going vertical, but then breaks across the face of this Tampa defender. And you're going to see this Tampa defender shift his leverage to kind of wall-ish technique, which is going to get him out of position here. Because when 82 here bends this underneath, he should be passing that off to the hook curl and then taking 86 here, who's on the vertical crosser. So right here, when 82 established that he's running underneath leverage, 34 is in position to take that, and he should be falling back here to take this, so then this hook curl player can play with depth over the new 3 or the running back releasing to the field. But what happens is that Tampa 2 defender stays, and now the hook curl player here, who is getting depth but has eyes on 86's crosser here, is going to be taking away this crosser, but really the read here should be dumping this down to your underneath running back, who's going to have all of this space to work with. This is the definition of taking what the defense gives you. But Jayden Daniels is going to get greedy here. He sees that there's 2 high safeties. And while it's true that you can sometimes get a seam ball in between them, that's not what we have here, because we don't have a vertical route to the boundary. And so 3 is going to kind of be poaching or pseudo-poaching. Poaching is a technique in quarters where a backside safety will look to the strong side or the 3 side of the formation and look for a deep crosser or deep seam route to help out on. And because 3 doesn't get any routes threatening him here, he's able to look to the strong side and help out. So this middle of the field, even though it's open, it's essentially closed because of the technique that 3 is playing with. And while Daniels does account for 3, by trying to throw it to the back shoulder, it's just way too dangerous of a throw here. And that's going to be one to learn from. Now, this is a really good read by Jayden Daniels and a good play call by Cliff Kingsbury. So we've got an interesting look here pre-snap where you've got these 3 DBs here all lined up deep. But this middle safety here is going to walk down a bit. And so at the snap, you've essentially got what's a 2 high pre-snap shell. It was a bit muddy at first, but as a quarterback reading the defense, this is a 2 high shell. And this is going to be cover 6. We're going to be playing cover 2 to the boundary. So this safety is going to be playing the deep half, and then we're going to be playing quarters up top. And we've got man lock here, and then this safety is going to be reading number 2 vertical. And if 2 isn't vertical, then he will bring eyes to 1. You've got 2 declared vertical. So the quarter safety here is on that. You've got that press man coverage up top here, and then you've got this back releasing out, releasing shallow. And so this receiver to the field is going to be running a deep pitch. But the problem is that this linebacker is getting depth and should be settling into a zone that takes that window away. Then you've got this linebacker type here playing hammer technique or taking 3 wherever he goes, as long as he's not out fast, which would mean he's out to the flats blazing at the snap, which he isn't here. However, what you're going to get playing this through a little bit more is that when this back breaks out, even though 7 has this route completely taken away, you're going to have this other linebacker or the apex curl flat type defender, rather than getting depth into his zone where he should be, X marks the spot, he's instead kind of taking the cheese on this little underneath route and gets a little bit out of position. And the second that he shows that he's reacting to that underneath route by the back, Jayden Daniels is going to rifle this in. This one doesn't really need to be low, but we'll take it. It's a chunk gain. Here's the look from the end zone cameras. Just a good read. Now, this play is just freaking awesome. And this play was everywhere, but I want to call out Jayden Daniels' timing here. Everything is so intentional. So this is a cover 1 man look, where we've got this deep middle of the field safety. We're sending 5, and then we've got man on the back, man on the end. And then here we're kind of playing like an inside out banjo sort of type of release man read coverage, where these 3 are going to be reading the releases of this bunch look here. And so 34 here will be taking the new 3, or whoever ends up being the 3rd receiver from the boundary after the initial receiver distribution. So what's going to happen here is you're going to get the initial 3, which is 87 here, out into the flats. And then you're going to get 82 here on this little inside release. And so what that's going to do is 82 is going to become the new 3. And so he's going to be 34's man. And so 82 is going to push upfield and break in on like a post type cut. However, this is the backside of the read. Jayden Daniels is not reading the bunch route distribution here. He is reading the left half of the field where you've got the back out into the flats, and then you've got this tight end on this little hitch cut. And what you're going to notice is that reading this half of the field is essentially a quick read. And this allows Jayden Daniels to very quickly determine whether he likes it or doesn't. So when he decides that he doesn't and he comes backside, he's coming backside right when 82 or McCaffrey here is on his break for his little post seam cut here. And that's going to be very intentional by both Kingsbury and by Jayden Daniels. He's not just coming backside the moment he realizes that he doesn't like the read. He's coming backside the moment that this route is breaking. And we can take a look at that here, where he's reading the left. And then as soon as he comes backside here, he's just starting to flip and open his hips back. But McCaffrey here is just now breaking inside. He's just going to do a little hop and reestablish that base and then rocket this in here. And that's off his back foot, and that's a laser. You can see he didn't get to step through that, and he's still throwing with really good torque on that ball. I don't know why Baker thought that was incomplete. Now, here's another play that shows really good play design and the way that Cliff Kingsbury is helping Jayden Daniels read the field. We've got cover 6 here, so this safety is dropping to a deep half. We've got Baker playing the field quarter. We've got 23 playing the other field quarter. And we've got a 3-by-1 look once again. Now, if you've watched some of my other videos, you know that in 3-by-1 looks versus quarters, the outside slot corner or the apex defender is responsible for all of 2 vertical. And that's because if 1 is vertical, then 23 takes him. If 3 is vertical, then he will get rerouted here, and then the safety will take him, and that would leave nobody to take 2 vertical, if 2's vertical, if the apex defender here were not responsible for that. So it's really important that you trust this apex defender vertical against whoever the hell's lined up at 2. At the top of his drop here, you've got 2 vertical, so 21 is taking that. You've got 1 on a deep dig, and so 23, or the deep quarter, is going to be responsible for driving on that. And then you've got 86 kind of coming over the middle here. You've got 34 with his hips to the strong side, again, kind of poaching. It is a deep half type coverage as opposed to a quarter, but he's playing from depth with a poach type technique. And then we've got this underneath receiver here on this little shallow. And this is kind of just some cheese for these linebackers here. We're trying to open up the middle of the field. And we're reading this, and we're reading the over here first. We do have this alert from 2 here. So if this is open, then we're throwing this. But we're not expecting it to be. So the real first read here is going to be this over here. And then we're reading to the dig, and then lastly to the check down, or the back that's going to be releasing underneath here. And so the idea here from Kingsbury is that we want this linebacker, who should be dropping into his zone and getting some depth here, which would take away 86's over. We want him to creep up a bit on this under and vacate this area of the field. Now, this linebacker doesn't need to creep down on this because we've got this other underneath zone player who's rerouting 86 and then will be here to take away that shallow. Now, I'll play this through a little more so we can see what happens, and we can see that this linebacker did, in fact, take the cheese here. And so Jayden Daniels is reading this, where this is really his first read here, and this is starting to come open. But I want to point out that everything that Daniels is reading here is all in his clear vision here. So he's got this alert, he's got this deep dig about to break behind here, And then he's got this over right here. He's not having to scan the field. He's given all of his reads essentially just plattered up for him here. And then he can always go underneath here to 17, who's now coming into that view as well. This is just a great job by Kingsbury to dial up a deep chunk type play with minimal risk without having to rely on your rookie quarterback to read the entire field. Now, here's a play where this is a bit nitpicky, but it's a touchdown. But Jayden Daniels could have had this ball out faster. And you've got the defense in a quarters coverage here. So they've got too high pre-snap. So these safeties are playing the inside quarters, and they are reading the number 2 receivers for a vertical route. And if they go vertical, they're going to match that or play man on it. And then you've got the outside corners here playing the outside quarters. So they are reading number 1 and matching any route vertical. And then you've got the hole defender and the curl flat defenders here. Okay, so what you're going to get is you're going to get 85 here on this deep over. And then you're going to get the outside receiver here, or 17, on this deep dig. And the idea here is that this deep over is going to clear out this quarters defender, which is going to open up the deep dig. And that's what we get. However, because number 2 here is not vertical, he's pass blocking and then releasing into the flats. And 1 here is going to be inside and shallow. That's going to allow 34 to play poach technique, or instead change his leverage and read the opposite side of the formation, looking for any kind of deep crosser. And that's what we have here. So Baker here is a little late to exchange this. So right here, you've got 34 now poaching. So he sees this route coming. You've got Baker playing on the deep over, and then you've got this dig setting up here. Okay, so right here, this is exactly what we wanted. This deep over cleared out Baker, and then we've got this deep dig just starting to break inside. We've also got this very clean window right here. This ball should have been out, but Jayden Daniels held it longer than he needed to. And what you're going to see is that he starts to get into risky territory, because right here, now we do have the ball starting to come out, but Baker could have easily passed this off sooner to 34 and allowed himself to flow back here to 17 and help out on that dig. He's late to recognize that 34 is playing poach technique because of the distribution that we had to the boundary side here, and that allows this throw to be late with no harm done. But there could have been some faster processing here. Now, this is a play that Jayden Daniels is just a little mechanically off on, and there have not been many misses at all, but this is one of them. Now, we've got cover 3 here, and we've got 3 receivers to the boundary. We've got the running back to the strong side, and then we've got 1 to the field. Now, the back is going to release to the boundary, and you're going to have number 2 run under. And 7 here is responsible for taking the first under in the formation. This is a cover 3 coverage. We've got press man to the top here, and the coverage is slanted a bit because of these 4 offensive skill players all congested. So I'll play this through. That's just a miss. This ball should be out right now. You can see that 7 has lost leverage, 85 is flying, and he's going to be coming open here. And while it looks like Daniels here is about to throw this, he's actually hesitating. So you see right there, he kind of fluffed it. He kind of just patted the ball, and now it's about to come out. But now he's off rhythm. And watch the way that his base kind of gives out on him. He's throwing this with all upper arm. You can see it a little better from the end zone here. So he pats it right there, and then here he just kind of throws it while falling back, and he's not able to get what he wants on that ball. That's all I've got for you guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure to check out the Weekly Blitz podcast with Joel Moran and myself. We drop that on Tuesdays, and I'll be back next week with another episode of the Weekly Blitz Film Spotlight.